Welcome to the Menopause Fat Loss Blueprint Solution, whatever you would like to call it. If you're new here, I am an online weight loss coach. I've been doing this for 15 years. My name is Shannon, as the title suggests on my bio. But in this video, I'm going to be taking you through, to be honest, pretty much what the bread and butter of my clients are actually probably mostly women, age 40 plus. So if you're in perimenopause, if you're complete, no longer have a period, this is pretty much 95% of my clientele. So I get really good results. If you follow the program and you do exactly as I say, I can get you really good results, completely free, no charge today. Now, we'll get stuck straight into it. I'm not going to keep you waiting. What you'll learn today is how to set up your calories, how to train, how to use cardio and or steps, and how to adjust your calories results based on the program and what kind of results you're getting. Now, obviously, why should you listen to me? Because I've been doing this for a very long time. I've worked with many women, peri and postmenopausal, who lose weight exactly as predicted. The biggest thing you have to accept is it is not necessarily harder for you to lose weight. Now, I know you're probably thinking, yes, it is, Shannon. You don't know me. You're not a woman. But I've coached hundreds of women, literally hundreds. And when I have women, peri and postmenopausal, who follow the system and the methods I'm about to talk about today, they get incredible results. Even when they thought they were at the end of their tether and they thought, this is how I'm going to be for the rest of my life and I am stuck, okay? It does require work, don't get me wrong. This is not easy by any means, but it is simple. Now, most importantly, we always take a health first approach. So you have to get an idea of roughly where you are in terms of body fat percentage. So for most women, I encourage you to get somewhere close to these 20 to 25% ranges to be healthy. If you're above these numbers, which I'm going to talk about in a moment, you're objectively in an unhealthy body fat, right? It's a place where you do not want to be. Too much body fat is inflammatory. It is bad for your health. It is a chronic inflammation, which leads to diseases and metabolic issues. So we do not want to be in an unhealthy body fat range. Over here is a very rough guideline in terms of what body fat percentage you have and where you currently sit. So most of the people who end up coming to me are usually in that average to obese category, usually somewhere in between here. Now you're going to notice the optimal deficit is going to depend on how much body fat you're carrying. So technically, the larger you are, the more aggressive you can go with your deficit. So you can literally, if you're obese, technically you could just stop eating today and you'll start losing pretty much all fat. Not saying you should do that. But the way science works, right? We do studies and we assess them, is the more overweight you are, the more aggressive you can go with your deficit. As you get leaner, you should actually be dieting on more calories. Over here is, maximum percent of your weight loss per week we're trying to achieve, which I'll talk about in a moment. So don't get too confused right now, but just know if you're watching this video, you're probably sitting somewhere in this range for most people, right? And obviously you can look at these photos and take a rough guess in terms of where you're probably sitting. Now, straight into the calories. So we're going to just take an average height, weight female. So maybe you're about 60 years old, it could be anywhere from like 40, even up to 70. I've even traded 70-year-old clients before. Female, obviously. You're about 160, 165 centimeters tall. At the moment, you're about 70 kilos, which is like 150 pounds, somewhere around there. We're going to leave the exercise activity modifier as 4 to 5 times a week, which you'll see why in a moment. Your waist is probably too high for where it should be. And your end goal, so this is not something that you have to achieve, but this is probably what your weight would probably look like if you got down to a very low, healthy 20% body fat. But that's just for estimation purposes. Now, based on all of this information, your BMR calories, based on this individual person, is 1,270 calories. To maintain their weight, and this is going to be with a few caveats of, if you're training 3 days a week in the gym, which I recommend that you should, and you're getting 10,000 steps per day. I like to recommend a range, so you don't have to be anal about it. So somewhere between 8 to 12,000 is a really good, healthy place to be in. More importantly for health, we want to be at least 8,000, but 10,000 is a nice solid number. I recommend you move your bum, get walking, get 10,000 steps a day. This is going to allow you to eat more food and lose at a decent pace. based on this personal stats. The starting deficit for most people, unless you're below 25% body fat, you're going to want to start with a 30% deficit. So whatever your maintenance calories is. And by the way, there will be a 4-week free coaching link below, so you can download, basically very similar to this calculator, and a program completely free, and you can follow that for the next 4 weeks. But using the data here, this person's estimated maintenance is about 1,861 calories a day. So that's about 10,000 steps, 3 days of weight training, right? The target protein, this is a protein minimum. So there's probably 2 most important things that you need to worry about. And that is your total protein target and your total calorie target. Now, this is a bare minimum. We don't want you any less than this, all right? This is going to be 1.6 grams times your current body weight. Arguably, I would like to see you at 1.8 grams times your body weight. All right, so if we change this over, I would rather see you about 126 grams a day. But 112 will be okay. You will still gain some muscle, build some strength and muscle on that number. Once you go back to maintenance calories, you can bump up your protein a bit more if you have more room for it. If you just like more protein, go for it. There's nothing wrong with more protein. We just don't want less. And then second to that, the most important number is your total calories. So your recommended calorie target is 1,300 a day, and this is based on a 30% deficit. Now, if this is too aggressive for you, which honestly it shouldn't be, I know it's a low number, but it's always relative to this number, obviously. You can go at an 80% deficit. It's an option, so this person would be at about 1,480 calories per day. If you started a bit higher and you weren't getting results, you could always go lower. But I've never had a client complain that they're losing weight too fast. It's never been a problem or an issue, right? So 112 protein, 1,300 calories. Just call it an even 1,300 calories. This is where I would start you. This is what I'd recommend that you should do. If you're already close to 20% body fat, I'd probably go with the 20% deficit, probably no more than that to start with. But more importantly, I like to focus on healthy waist measurements. So people come to me like, Shannon, help me lose weight. I need to lose 10 kilos, 15, 20 kilos, 50 pounds, 100 pounds, whatever it is, right? The most important thing is you need to get healthy. We need you healthy yesterday. So the next best time is to get healthy today. To know if you're healthy, your small waist, so not at your belly button, not at your ribs, just in between the two, right? The smallest part of your waist. We don't want that any more than 46% of your height, all right? So whatever your height is, times it by 0.46. That is the number that you need to get below to be healthy. Now, some women have naturally a smaller waist, small and narrow waist, and some women don't. They're just built more like men. They have more of a barrel shape, for lack of a better word, right? It just depends on how you store body fat. Women are more difficult in terms of body fat distribution compared to men. Men are carbon copies. We just store it all around the waist, and we're pretty much identical. Women store it sometimes more in the chest, more in the thighs and hips, sometimes in the arms more. It's just a more varied distribution of body fat. But ultimately, your goal is still to get below this. Until you get below this, you are not at a healthy body fat percentage, and your long-term health is at a higher risk of issues, diabetes, cancers, that kind of fun stuff, right? Then you have a low target. It's about 10 to 14 centimeters below this target. Now you might look at that number and go, I could never get that small. You can. Everybody can. Unless you've been, morbidly obese in the past and you just have excessive loose skin that may be artificially inflating your waist, right? But apart from that, from just a standard person who's either obese, overweight, you can get down to this number. It just depends on dedication level and how far you want to take it. My job as a weight loss coach is to get you healthy first. And then from there, it's mostly an aesthetics goal. Anyway, back to the main program. 112 protein a day, 1,300 calories. That's what you're going to do based on this person's individual stats. You can either use my calculator, which will be the 4-week program below, or you can use any online calculator to start estimating your calories, but use a 30% deficit to start. You're going to walk 10,000 steps a day. You're going to eat potentially 3 meals, 1 snack. I would argue because you're on the lower end of calories, around 1,300 calories, it's not going to leave you much room for snacks. I would rather you probably eat either 2 to 3 larger meals and no snacks, or potentially 2 meals and a snack. That's kind of how I like to set up my day. Now, the most important thing, technically, it doesn't matter when you eat. Technically, it doesn't matter what you eat. The most important thing is, as long as you're not over your calories and you are at least getting your minimum protein requirement every day. That is priority one. Now, to make things and make life easier, you definitely want to eat at a set schedule. You want to eat at the same time every day. You also want to eat very regular meals, meaning you might have 2 different options for breakfast that you rotate through, 3 different options of lunch, and 4 different options of dinner. I've actually got a method on my page, if you look up 235, where I explain where I like to have people have 2 different variations of their breakfast, 3 variations of lunch, and 5 variations of dinner. And that's because most people for breakfast eat the same thing every day. Most people for lunch usually take their own lunch to work, or if you're making lunch at home. And dinner is usually the most social meal where other people have an input in terms of what they want to eat. So it makes sense to have more variety later in the day, less variety earlier in the day. Another video, you can have a look at my page for that. Pick a meal schedule that works for you. Usually it's probably about 3 meals a day. You're going to just divide your calories roughly by 3 meals. If you prefer a little bit less in the morning and more at night, go for it. Vice versa, go for it. Doesn't bother me. Just don't go over your total calories. Don't go below your minimum protein target, and stick to it diligently. You will need to weigh, track, and measure all of your food with a kitchen scale. You'll need to use an app such as Macros First. I'll see if I can leave a link in the description below. Use that to track your calories accurately. If it isn't weighed, tracked, and measured on the kitchen scale, it is not accurate. And this is where most people go wrong. And this is where people believe that they're eating low enough calories when they're not. Even when you think that you're eating low enough, if you haven't prepared it yourself and weighed and measured it on a kitchen scale, it is not accurate. Guaranteed. And this is why I get such good results with my clients, because they listen to what I say. I promise you, I wish there was an easier way to this. And if there was, I'd know about it by now. All right, so they're your essential movements from day one. Calories, protein, 10K steps, 3 meals a day, stick to it. Obviously aim for common sense foods, meats, vegetables, and fruits most of the time. Okay. From here, training program. Now this is very similar to what I would normally do with a new client who's come to see me in the gym, or if someone is getting back into the gym for the first time. You do not need complications. Simple is best. You are going to want to train 3 days a week. 3 days is perfect for most people. 2 days is okay. You can still get results with 2 days, but I like to see 3 days a week. The way this works is an A-B rotation. So you got program A, program B, program A. Then you've got program B, program A, program B. You alternate each week. So you might do a typical Monday, Wednesday, Friday. You would do A, B, A. The following week, you do B, A, B. Cool, really simple. Your priority is you're going to work through these exercises from top to bottom. So you want to do leg press first, pull downs, hamstring curls, shoulder press, rear delt flies, chest press, right? Generally, most women, compared to men, usually like to improve legs and bum, mostly, upper back, shoulders, and chest last. I've had many women who said to me, Shannon, I would like a nicer bum and legs. Great. I've never had a woman say, I want the juiciest pecs possible. Shannon, let's just do a chest day. It doesn't happen. I've had men say that though. They're like, I want massive upper body. I want pecs, arms, delts, the whole lot, right? But I've never had a dude come up to me and say, I want the juiciest peach ever, right? That just doesn't happen. So we still program that way, but we still want full body balance. Machine-based exercises, don't do, there's no barbell training, there's no heavy deadlifting, nothing like that. It's just, for my opinion, it's just far too injurious, even for most people, even if you're not later on in age, 40, 50, 60, 70s. So, and mind you, I'm almost 40, so I'm in that category too. So, if you have the ability to, and your gym is not too busy, my preference is to alternate between exercises, meaning you would do a leg press, give yourself about a 2-minute rest, do your pull downs, have about a 2-minute rest. Go back and repeat that for 3 sets. All right, so it should look like this. Leg press, pull downs, leg press, pull downs, leg press, pull downs. Ignore the person driving the driveway. If you can't, if the gym's too busy and you can't alternate between exercises, that is okay. just work your way from the top down. Okay. Leg press, have a break, leg press, have a break, leg press, have a break. Then do your pull downs. You can swap like for like, meaning if my preference would be, say, for example, a seated hamstring curl over a laying hamstring curl. If you can't get access to your seated hamstring curl, a laying hamstring curl is fine, or if you don't have a seated hamstring curl. Shoulder press, preferably a machine or a plate-loaded machine. If you can't get it, it's always busy, it's broken, whatever, you can do dumbbells. Sometimes if you have injuries and things like that, obviously a program would need to be customized specifically to your circumstances. Machine chest press, but again, you could also do push-ups, which is why I've got push-ups in the second program here. So every time you train, you're going to be training full body. You're going to pick a weight that allows you to get between this rep range. So for example, leg press, you're going to pick a weight that allows you to get somewhere between 8 to 10 repetitions with good form. Same thing with rear delt flies, between 10 to 15 repetitions with good form. Now, how do you adjust the program? How do you track your progress? How do I increase the weights? When do I increase the weights? All these questions I get from clients, right? Very, very simple system. The way we write this down is weight times repetitions. So what this means is, let's say you're doing 20 kilos on a leg press, times how many repetitions did you get on each 3 of those sets? Let's say in the first set you got 10, then you got 8, and then you got 7. All right, that was set 1, 2, and 3. What do I do with that information? All right. Anytime you can get 10 repetitions, I like to say the first set, but if any of these sets you can get 10, next session the weight goes up. So let's say the next increment on your leg press is 5 kilos, so you go to 25. And then let's say you get 8, 7, 6. It's a little bit heavier this time. Perfect. Next session, the next time you repeat this session, you keep the weight the same, because none of these reps here, or none of these sets, you got 10 repetitions. So whatever this number is here at the very top, you should always try to aim for that. All right, so you're always trying to add a rep here or there whenever possible. Now this time you've recovered, you're feeling good, you had a good sleep, feeling strong today. Let's say you end up getting 10 on the first set. Perfect. Next week, weight goes up by the minimal amount possible. As you get stronger and stronger over time, you won't be able to progress as fast. So you might take 2 or 3 weeks just to achieve an extra rep or 2 on the first set or second set. Perfectly fine, nothing wrong with that at all. That's to be expected. Add a rep when you can. When you hit that threshold, this number, this top number, add more weight next session. And it could be literally an increase as of little as a kilogram, right? And that would be the same for every single exercise. Now, the only difference is if you're doing a bodyweight exercise, for example, if you're doing kneeling push-ups, and then you can get, say, 15 across most of those sets, so you might get 15, 15, 12, then you might look into the next progression of push-ups, which might be something like an eccentric push-up. So if you look at my channel, if you type in eccentric push-up, it shows you what that looks like. And then you would progress into toe push-ups, right? And then from toe push-ups, you could progress into suspension push-ups. There's hundreds and hundreds of ways to keep progressing. But I do like push-ups because as you get older, right, and it's important to maintain health and mobility, just being able to push yourself off something is important, all right? I want you to be aging healthily, especially as you're getting on in age. Same as myself, right? All of this is obviously going to contribute to that. Now, sometimes I get questions about stretching as you get older. I do recommend that if you are finding that you're getting a bit stiff, doing some light stretching here or there can actually help, especially if you find you're getting aches and pains and things like that, but it doesn't have to be excessive. But that's more on a case by case. Some people feel fine, they don't need to stretch. Some people are really tight and they probably could benefit from some stretching or mobility work. But this is a very basic setup of the program. So this would be typically written down Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Then the following week would be Monday, Wednesday, Friday, right? Your goal is just to do a little bit more than you did last session. Now, when it comes to tracking your progress, things that I'm going to recommend that you should do is you should be weighing yourself every single day. On the bathroom scale, digital preferably, you weigh yourself every day and you take a weekly average, okay? I would recommend that you do full body measurements every single week. So around your waist, around your belly button waist, your hips, your thigh, your chest, the whole lot, every single week. There are two things you are looking out for. You either want A, a decrease in measurements, or B, a decrease in weight. All right, let me bring up my next slide. So we assess progress. I would stick to those calories for at least 4 weeks. Don't make any changes. I don't care if the scale doesn't go down in the first 4 weeks, if the measurements don't go down. Just get used to tracking calories, militant accuracy for 4 weeks. After 4 weeks, the general goal is you should probably be losing about 0.5 to 1% of your body weight, or you should be losing something off your small waist or your navel waist, right? Most weeks in the program. Some weeks it'll be waist, some weeks it'll be scale weight. If after 4 weeks, and let's say you enter the 5th week, if you don't get any results and it's been at least 2 weeks, 3 things happen. You either reduce calories, 10%, you increase activity, you go from 10 to 12,000 steps, or C, you have optional cardio. You can add in cardio to your sessions or your week. I would only pick one. I wouldn't do all 3. I wouldn't do 2, just 1. Because we want to make a change and then see what happens. You may not want to eat less. Therefore, you do more activity. You may not want to do more activity. Therefore, you eat less. But something has to change in either direction. And this is provided you're being militant accurate with your calories. Emphasis on being militant accurate. My first option would be reduce calories by about 10%. About 100 so calories, right? After that, if you progress for 2 weeks and then nothing happens for 2 weeks after that, so you always give yourself at least 2 weeks leeway. I'm not going to be talking about necessarily having your period, because you're probably getting to the point now where it's getting either further and further apart, it's more disrupted, or it's probably stopped. So you don't have that fluctuation so much to worry about anymore. If you still have somewhat of a regular period, or starting to get towards the point where it's no longer coming, sometimes you have to wait a 3rd week if you have that period and you get that weekly bloating. Right? And this is just my experience of working with women mostly. Obviously, I'm a guy, I'm not trying to mansplain this to you. But sometimes you have to take into account that period week. Could be 3 days, could be 7 days, however long it is, how intense it is. Generally speaking though, 2 weeks of no progress means you need to make another change, provided you're doing all of your activity, all of your training, and you're accurate with calories. Either calories come down, activity goes up, or you potentially add in cardio because you don't have more time for steps. If you were to add cardio in, my recommendation is to do something non-impact, which basically means anything except running, to be honest. So if you're at the gym, you have access to cardio machines. Stair step bar is one of my favorites. Cross trainer, rower, bike, anything that is something you can just do mindlessly for the most part. Incline treadmill walk is also okay, but this does not count towards your steps. This is separate to your steps. So just take off your watch, don't track. Now, you assess the progress for the next 2 weeks. Did you drop something in those 2 weeks? Amazing, keep going as you are. So the idea is to change as little as possible until you get down to these healthy waist targets and or a healthy body fat percentage. And then from there, you literally go back to your maintenance almost overnight. Not quite, but getting back to maintenance or exiting the diet is a little bit of a different story. But you don't need to drag it on for another 30 weeks after your diet. Like some coaches will charge you hundreds of dollars for just to add 50 calories back into your diet every week. Majority of my clients, we literally get back to maintenance almost within 1 to 2 weeks of finishing a fat loss phase. And that you rinse this out. So you go through the process, you assess progress over 2 weeks. Did you hit something? Did you hit a new low in anything? Weight or measurements in those 2 weeks? Gone. Yes, keep going as you are. If you hit no progress for 2 weeks, something has to change. Either increase activity or drop steps. Increase steps, drop calories. Pick one, don't do both. We want one variable change. You do not need diet breaks. You do not need refeeds. You just need to get the fat off the body and do it consistently for long enough. Congratulations, if you made it this far, you are serious about getting some great results. Now, below, there was a 4 weeks of free online coaching link you can join up to. You'll get an email series for that. This is how I work with one-to-one clients. It explains your calories, your nutrition, your protein targets. There's a training program in there, not exact one as I've gone through today, but there will be a lot of information in there. Basically what it's kind of like, what it's almost like to work with me for free. I tell you how to track your daily averages for your weight, what they mean, what the data is. Basically, it's close to working with me without any charge at all for the next 4 weeks for free. If you have any questions, pop them in the comments below. You can reach me on Instagram, Shannon Bellows Fitness, or you can contact me at this email address. If you feel like you need extra one-to-one help and you want me to do this for you so you can get results like these guys who lost weight pretty much every week. I say pretty much because there are some weeks where you just don't, and that's normal. But if you want the guidance and the assistance, I do this for a living and I do this online, and I make it as simple and easy as possible. And I even have people coming to me to this day who have been on this planet for 50 years, 60 years and gone through the program and gotten the results that they want to achieve and gone, Shannon, how have I not been taught this in the last 50 years I've been alive, right? My job is to make weight loss simpler than it is and as easy as possible. It still will be difficult. There will still be hard moments and hard days, and that is normal. That's part of the process. But if you put your trust in me, I have 100% money back guarantee in the first month. If you don't get any results, I'll give you a complete refund. That's how confident I am in the program. But otherwise, you can join me for free below. And that is all. Hope you found this helpful. Any questions, guys, let me know in the comments below, and I will talk to you in the next video. Take care.